Hello, Northeast readers. I haven't been with you in a few days. We're going to continue to read A Lion to Guard Us. We are now on Chapter 7, The Night People. They went toward the lights of London Bridge. Amanda could feel her heart thumping. She had a pain in her side from running so fast. "Are we going over the bridge?" asked Jemmy. "No," said Amanda. There was trouble on the bridge. 2 wagons had run into each other. One had lost a wheel. The drivers had gotten out and begun to fight. Amanda led Jemmy and Meg away from the bridge. They saw an inn ahead. Lights shone from the windows. Jemmy pulled Amanda toward it. She pulled back. "We can't go there." An inn is like a hotel. "Why? It's only for those with money." They walked along the river. On the riverbank, people were sitting about small fires. "Who are they?" asked Jemmy. "People with no homes," answered Amanda. "Like us," said Jemmy. Some of the people were cooking. The smell of food was in the air. "I'm hungry," said Jemmy. "You had your supper," said Amanda. "I'm glad I'm not very hungry," he said. They came to an old wooden pier. They walked out on it and sat down. The darkness hid them. They could hear the soft splash of the river below. "Will they come after us?" asked Jemmy. "No, unless," a thought had come to Amanda, "unless Mistress Trippett dies. Then they'll say I'm to blame, and they'll come after me." "What will they do if they find you?" "Put me in jail." "Would Meg and I go too?" "No." "Where would we go?" "Jemmy, hush." "Where would we go, Amanda?" "You'd go to a place where you work all day and half the night. When you're poor and don't have anywhere else to go, that's what you do." "Meg's too little." "Well, so are you." "No, I'm not, but I don't want to go there. I'd rather go to jail with you." "We won't be going to jail," she said, "because they won't catch us." "Where are we going?" "I don't know yet, but we're going to stay together. Do you hear that, Jemmy? Do you hear, Meg?" "I hear," he said. Meg said nothing. She'd said nothing since they had left Mistress Trippett's. Meg was too quiet and too good. All her life she'd been pushed away into corners. "Sit there, Meg. Don't move, Meg." She'd never played like other children. She didn't know how. A woman was coming slowly toward them with a lantern in her hand. She stopped at the pier, and the light shone on her face. She was very old. Her eyes looked hollow and wild. Give me," she said. "We've got nothing to give," said Amanda. The old woman held the lantern high. She was looking at Meg. "It's my little girl," she said. "No," said Amanda. The old woman came closer. "Don't you know me, dear?" "Go away," said Amanda. The old woman sat down beside them. She touched Meg's hair. "Come, dear, I'll take you home with me." "Leave her alone." Amanda pulled Meg away and took Jemmy's hand. They left the pier. The old woman called after them, "Wait, wait!" But they didn't stop. They walked back toward London Bridge. Now Amanda could see that the night people were everywhere. They were in alleys and in doorways. They were part of the shadows. The spring night was not cold, but Amanda was shivering. And there's a picture of the woman. Where could they go to be away from these people? Where could they go to be alone, to rest and to sleep a little? They came to Fish Street. She said, "If we go back to Mistress Trippett's—" "We can't go back," said Jemmy. "You know what Fat Randolph said." "We wouldn't go in. If we went into the garden, no one goes there after dark. We could hide behind the chicken coops. In the morning, before it gets light, we could be gone." They walked up the street. Mistress Trippett's house was in sight, with lights in the windows. There was a man in the alley beside the house. He carried a lantern. He came toward them. He would go by, Amanda thought, but no, he was stopping. She could only stand there, with Jemmy holding one of her hands, and Meg the other. "Amanda?" asked the man. She knew him then. It was Dr. Kreider. Chapter 8, A Piece of Luck. "I've been up and down the street looking for you," said the doctor. "It was a piece of luck I found you. Were you coming back to Mistress Trippett's?" "No, sir, not to the house," answered Amanda. "Master Randolph put us out." "So I heard," said Dr. Kreider. "And where did Master Randolph think you might go after dark in the middle of London?" "We didn't know where to go," said Amanda. "I thought we might find a place behind the house." "You'd better come with me," he said. They walked together. The lantern bobbed along, lighting their way. "If it please you," began Amanda. "Yes." "Did you see Mistress Trippett tonight?" I did. A girl came to fetch me. She said Mistress Trippett was in a faint. And she didn't die? Die? Of course not. It was only a fit of temper. They turned off Fish Street. They walked along a row of wooden houses. Dr. Kreider stopped at one of them. Where are we? Asked Jemmy. I've brought you home with me, said Dr. Kreider. They went inside. A night lamp burned in the hallway. The house was not poor, but neither was it fine. The rooms were small. The walls were bare. Have you had supper? Asked Dr. Kreider. Yes, sir, Amanda answered. Then perhaps you'll sit with me while I have mine. He led them into the kitchen. They all sat at the table while he drank a mug of milk and ate a cold meat pie. Amanda looked about the kitchen. With Dr. Kreider's leave, she thought, she would sweep up the crumbs, she would polish the copper pots and pans until they shone. They said you made Mistress Trippett fall into a faint, said the doctor. Poor Mistress Trippett, what did you do to her? I only asked her for the money. Well, what money? Father left it when he went away. Mistress Trippett was keeping it. I don't see why I was wrong to ask for it. You weren't wrong, he said. But we'll never get it now, and we need it to go to America. Ships will be going soon. Well, how soon? Next month. He had finished his supper. Shall I clear the things away? She asked. No, sit a while, he asked. Is your father happy in the New World? I don't know, sir. Doesn't he write you? He never learned to read or write, she answered. None of us ever learned. There may be a school in Jamestown one day, and then... Jamestown, he said. That's where your father is? Yes, sir. She looked at Jemmy and Meg. They had gone to sleep with their heads on the table. She was so tired she wanted to lay her head beside theirs. Dr. Kreider pushed back his chair. Time for bed, he said. He gave them a room of their own. It had a bed, not just a pallet, on the floor. Lie down, he said. There, I'll tuck you in. That was the last thing Amanda remembered before she went to sleep. One more chapter. Chapter 9, A Great World. It was morning when she woke. Dr. Kreider was in the doorway, dressed to go out. I'll be back soon, he said. Do you know how to make breakfast? Oh, of course you do. Have whatever you can find in the kitchen. I have already eaten. And he was gone. Jemmy and Meg were still asleep. She went out into the kitchen. A small fire burned in the grate. She swung the kettle over it. Almost at once it began to sing. She set out a plate of biscuits. She made tea in a round blue pot. Jemmy and Meg came to the door. Their hair was on end and their eyes looked sleepy. Where is this place? Asked Jemmy. Don't you remember? Said Amanda. Dr. Kreider brought us here. Come and have your tea. See, here's a biscuit to dip it in. There's one for you too, Meg. They came to the table. Something clanked as Jemmy sat down. What was that? Asked Amanda. The knock-knock, said Meg. Jemmy put his hand into his pocket and took out the little brass door knocker. Jemmy, said Amanda, you had it all the time? I kept it in my pocket, he said. Aren't you glad? Now Mistress Trippett and Fat Randolph won't get it. You can't carry it that way, said Amanda. You'll wear out your pocket. Well, how shall I carry it? Well, I don't know. We'll think of a way. Put it on the table for now. He put the lion's head down beside his cup. Amanda thought of what Father had said, a lion to guard you. After breakfast, she set to work. Jemmy and Meg helped her, and they cleaned the kitchen. Amanda said, Dr. Kreider will be surprised. But when he came in, he hardly looked at the kitchen. For a while, he hardly looked at them. He sat down with his hat and cloak on. His eyes were bright, and there was color in his cheeks. Amanda spoke to him twice before he answered. Yes, what is it? Will you have tea? She asked. Tea? No, he said. Amanda, yes, sir. Am I an old man? Yes, sir, she answered. I am? I mean, not a very old man, but... I know how I must look to you, but don't believe what you see. Today I am young again. I'm young, Amanda. You don't understand me, do you? Well, no, sir. I've just been to see Sir Thomas Smith on Philpot Lane. We've talked about ships to the New World. 9 are leaving next month. 9 ships, Amanda, leaving in June. And you'll be on one of them. I will? Truly? Yes, and Jemmy and Meg, too. She said, I know, you went to Mistress Trippett's. You got the money. No, poor Mistress Trippett, he said. Shut up in her big house. Poor Mistress Trippett with her bags of money. Let her keep it all. There's a great world outside, and she'll never know it. But we'll know it, Amanda. He was on his feet, walking up and down. They want me in Jamestown. They need me there. They want doctors, and they don't care how old I am. There's nothing to keep me here, and I'm going. We're all going to the new world together. And that's the end of chapter 9. They're going off to America. Keep listening for the next chapters.